Hello, everyone. Once again, this is EVTN News, and I am once again feeling sick. It seems like that happens every so often. Usually not in the summer, but this is an exception. In fact, I don't think I've gotten a summer cold for like over a decade. So I don't know. What do you say I was due? I don't know. Is that superstitious to say that? I'm not sure. But I do want to speak just very quickly. So the incident at the Trump event on Saturday. I knew actually several people who went there, and I think for all of us, it just kind of it just kind of makes you think a little bit because there's definitely someone that died. I mean, pray for his soul for sure. The innocent victim who he's a fire chief who died defending his wife and daughter. Um, but it definitely makes you think a little bit. And I mean, everyone's gonna die. That's just inevitable. It just depends on when. So, um, yeah, and of course, on this I try to stay away from politics as much as I can on this channel, and I really only talk about um, certain aspects. It's not a political discussion thing. I don't really follow politics enough to talk about it. I quite frankly would rather not spend any time following politics. Although, just a heads up that the vice presidential candidate is now J.D. Vance, and he has said, I think he's a Catholic. I think he's a Catholic, but he supported abortion. Oh, all right. Now I'm going to be demonetized. I just said the magic word, but he supported the slaughter of the unborn, uh, at least at the beginning. So like in the first 3 months or whatever, something like that. So you're going to hear a lot of the leftists who, by the way, this is a product of leftist tolerance for sure. Um, but you're going to see a lot of Catholics who, um, oppose basic Catholic doctrine and say, "See, he's not pro-life," and like, well, I mean, you guys are for the mutilation of children and degenerate lifestyles and all that stuff. So you guys endorse sins that cry to heaven for vengeance. So I mean, I don't think they have much room to talk. Like Stowe has no room to talk. McElroy, and in fact, both of those people, um, they blatantly oppose Trump, and they're part of the problem. But the USCCB, I mean, honestly, I hope. I mean, it'd be fun. It'd be entertaining to see Trump get elected and the USCCB panic because they're going to lose their immigration money. Um, Not that I ever wish ill upon people, but it would be nice to see the USCCB fund itself rather than turn to the government for funding. And the sooner people realize that the USCCB is bankrolling and immigration is a top priority at the USCCB because they profit from it, the sooner people realize that, the better. So it would be nice to see an administration in there whose immigration policy does not line up with the USCCB, and then it'd be nice to see like if Vance fires back at the USCCB. I don't know. I guess we'll see, but that would be nice to see. Anyway, let's go. I only have a few news stories, and because I'm sick, that's works okay. So, anyone excited for the Eucharistic Congress, the Eucharistic Revival? I assume none of you were there. None of you paid like $800 for a ticket. Um, Actually, okay. Anyway, yeah, none of you paid that much for a ticket. So the Pillar did an interview with Bishop Cozzens, his basically the main organizer of this Eucharistic revival, and they asked him a lot of questions, and I found this one interesting. So his answer to one of the questions, he said originally, I think they asked him about like different rites. Um, they asked him a little bit about the Latin Mass, and he kind of sort of sidestepped the question. I don't think he wants to be a Francis target like Strickland or probably now Coeur d'Leon. But here's here's one of his answers to the question. He said, originally we had hoped to be able to do a Ukrainian Catholic liturgy in the stadium. Part of the reason I wanted to do that was for Ukraine, frankly, just to hold up the suffering church. So basically, political reasons. He said, but it proved to be too difficult because of the way that the Ukrainian Catholics distribute Holy Communion to do in a stadium. So what this means is they decided against a reverent liturgy because they couldn't hand out communion like it was candy. But the whole point of the Eucharistic revival, right? So wouldn't you try to make it work? Because with in Ukrainian Catholicism, it's part of the Byzantine Rite, and so if you go to any Byzantine Rite liturgy, they have communion by intinction. So it's the bread and the wine together in a cup, and there's a spoon that they use to to distribute it in people's mouths. But maybe they'll bring out the plastic ciborium instead, like they use at World Francis Day. So it just kind of shows you what their priorities are at the Eucharistic revival. Is it really about is it really about renewing belief in the real presence in the Eucharist? Because if it were, then they would have altar rails, communion on the tongue, and distributing communion. Eucharistic revival is handing out communion like candy, then why do you even need it in the first place? Why did you waste the $12 million? So what this is going to do is a bunch of diocesan employees are going to go. So each diocese, each bishop is going to send several of their employees and say, diocese will pay for it. And they'll take the trip and say, oh, all right, that was great, and come back, and that'll be it. So it's really just a trip for a bunch of diocesan employees. And good intentions, of course. I don't want to sound like that. They have evil intentions, but the implementation. You could have featured a Latin Mass, of course. That would really put a Francis target on your back. I guess I shouldn't really use that language, but that would really put you high on Francis's bad list. I guess you could say that it would get you. It would basically put you on the firing list. Even that's a bad term to use too. It's crazy. It would put you on the list for first bishops to lose their jobs, or maybe they would actually be kicked out before the Eucharistic revival. Anyway, that goes without saying. But yeah, I mean, a real Eucharistic revival, you need to go back to the Latin Mass and do communion on the tongue while kneeling, and that was the only acceptable posture for receiving communion until I think it was 1968 in the United States. The sacrilegious practice of receiving communion in the hand for unconsecrated individuals became common practice. I think it was Belgium. I think Belgium started the sacrilege, and it just caught on in the rest of the world. Bernardine, big communist cardinal. He was into it in the United States. He kind of rigged the vote, and that's how it happened. So, but if you turn away from it, then Eucharistic ministers wouldn't be able to run up on the altar every day, or literally every day at every Novus Ordo parish. You have to have a Eucharistic minister, even if there's 10 people that are there at the Mass. So, okay. So let's move on to the next story. On Friday, I just found out about this today, Father Gabriel Burke, probably not related to Cardinal Burke, the parish priest of Whitechurch, County Cork, Ireland, refused communion to pro-abortion again I said the magic word, politician Colm Burke, same last name, at the funeral of a longtime party friend of the political activist. Colm Burke is a minister of state and a member of the Irish Fine Gael Party, one of the parties of the regime. The priest told the politician that he was excommunicated late sententiae. Colm Burke had voted in favor of repealing the Eighth Amendment, which banned the introduction of slaughter of the unborn in Ireland. ahead of a referendum in 2018. Colm Burke then contacted the Diocese of Cloyne to clarify his status in relation to participation in the Eucharist. The spokesperson for the diocese said that Bishop William Crean would contact the politicians. So this priest is going to get suspended. But credit to him for standing up for the Catholic faith, because I don't think there's a lot of priests in Ireland that do. So this is a priest we need. We need more priests like him. I would love to see more priests like him, even in the United States, because a lot of them, well, and understandably they don't want to make a scene, and that's fine. Don't need to make a scene, but when it comes down to it, he's excommunicated. So, really, fantastic job with this priest, and I think we definitely need to support priests like this. And then, just kind of a side note here, Cardinal Mueller, he said that Francis is the elected pope and there is no opposition from the College of Cardinals. He said there's no doubt that Francis is a legitimate pope. He said Jesus didn't give us the guarantee that bishops and popes always do the best. Only in the case of the dogma ex cathedra is the pope infallible. So a lot of people, and I guess it's not really particularly noteworthy that I say that, but a lot of people have a lot of opinions on Francis and whether he's a valid pope, and of course Vigano rejects him as pope. And Mueller is no different. So he has an opinion, and so does everyone else, and that's that. But unfortunately, the longer this Francis papacy drags on, the more I don't know, divided we get. And it's only going to continue until we have a new pope. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have to say on that. There are definitely commentators who basically worship everything Francis does and say it's completely in line with the Catholic faith, even though it completely contradicts it in some instances. But square the circle. Have you ever played the game Twister? Because I explained that, like right hand on red, left hand on green, left foot on blue, and you get all twisted up, and that's what the Pope splainers try to do, but it doesn't work. I'm not very flexible. I end up losing the game eventually. Everyone does. Well, I think there's one winner at the end, but they'd eventually fall anyway. So, all right. Well, this until next time. Yeah, you can tell I can't really make it very much longer. So, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we are the laity, and we will not be silent. Come on.